Anita Sarkeesian has recently made a new video called, or something along the lines of Slender Video Game Women or something like that, where she just talks about just how women in video games are depicted as skinny. Now, overall, her whole point I don't agree with, and apparently so does not, uh, alongside a lot of other people. They don't. In fact, a lot of the points that she makes in this video makes me want to gouge my eyes out, but that's just my personal opinion. So anyway, this is a video response, of course, and well, anyway, let's go.
At their annual BlizzCon event in 2014, the wildly successful game studio Blizzard Entertainment showed off a new game they had in the works called Overwatch. And from that first reveal, it was clear the appeal of Overwatch resided in its cast of characters, a diverse assortment of heroes, each with unique traits and abilities. The roster revealed at BlizzCon included men and women, sentient robots, and super intelligent gorillas. However, for all the apparent variety and diversity in the heroes Blizzard showed off at the game's debut, there wasn't much diversity to be seen in the body types represented by the female heroes. The male characters introduced that day included the towering knight Reinhardt, the sturdy engineer Torbjorn, the agile archer Hanzo, and the hulking simian scientist Winston, among others. The 5 female characters introduced consisted of the slender adventurer Tracer, the slender healer Mercy, the slender support character Symmetra, the slender sniper Widowmaker, and the slender but well-armored security chief Farah.
You had better not be having a problem just because all the women there are slender. You better not be having a problem with that, for God's sake.
Overwatch was hardly alone in having all of its female characters share a similar physique. In Ultra Street Fighter IV, characters such as Dalsum, Hakan, E. Honda, Rufus, and Vega represent a significant range of male body types. Looking at the roster of female characters, however, while some may be a bit taller than others or have slightly larger thighs, not one of them represents a notable departure from the slender body type that has been established as the standard of conventional female attractiveness. Similarly, when we look at the champions on offer in the hugely popular MOBA League of Legends, we see the designers employing a wonderful range of body shapes and proportions across dozens of male characters, from the classic muscular warrior physique of Taric, to the hefty beer belly of Gragas, to the cartoonishly disproportionate body of Dr. Mundo. There isn't any one male body type that is presented as the standard default male body type, and the value of these characters is definitely not connected to their sexual desirability. But when we look at the female heroes, there's nothing approaching the diversity we see on the male side of the roster. There are a few noteworthy variations from the standard. Illaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female characters. Jinx has smaller breasts, and there's the cute gnome-like Tristana. But the overwhelming majority of female characters make it clear that a slender figure with prominent breasts is viewed as the standard for female character design.
I have a theory on why this is. Want to know what that theory is? It might be because women, or thin and skinny women, slender women, are just naturally nicer to look at. Boom! Mind blown. Shots fired. Real talk though, I really don't get what her point is with this. Well, the only thing that I see here is I'm just using common sense and just saying is slender women are just nicer to look at. That's all I see.
Likewise, in Dota 2, male heroes can be handsome or comical, outlandish or grotesque, while female heroes are mostly relegated to being standard humanoid characters with conventionally attractive facial features. Where are all the female rock creatures, skeletal priests, and whatever this thing is? This isn't just an issue in fighting games, MOBAs, and other titles that give players a range of characters to choose from. Female characters across the board are often limited to that same specific body type.
I should kill you.
Doing all right there?
Stay away from her!
Sure you want to let him go? And this guy wants me to trust him.
You want to know why that is? I'd like to see a fat person doing the stuff that Lara Croft is doing, or Nathan Drake, or Mario, or any other video game character. I'd like to see something that a fat person. I probably shouldn't have used Mario for an example on that, but my point still stands. Because if you want a reasonable a reasonable story, then making characters fat and just not overall slender, then there's going to be things that that won't be able to be physically, that won't even be possible uh, in terms of realism. And you need to get that through your skull, Anita. And Anita, uh, can I add just one more thing to my thing? Uh, why do you tend to focus on the gender and just body shape of the person instead of just the game? Because just because you can't stop focusing on, say, Lara Croft's ass, that doesn't mean that every other person in the world don't. Like, does that make sense at all to all the viewers watching? Uh, I just don't get it.
It's as if male characters are free to embody whatever physique best communicates their personality or abilities, but when it comes to the designs of female characters, that kind of imagination and creativity often doesn't seem to exist. Rather than seeing such an exciting range of female characters, we mostly get the same body type over and over again, one designed to be sexually appealing to the presumed straight male player.
You seem to be working on the presumption that all we focus on when it comes to female characters is just them being sexy, and that's not the case, at least for me. Because take Life is Strange Maxwell. I while I have not played the game, I do know the general story and just how the character is, and based on what I see, it's an amazing story. And Maxwell is a great character based on my understanding. So, if my point is here is why do you seem to think that uh, just because no, just because I like a a nice looking woman in a video game, why do you think that that means I automatically can't relate with her or something like that? That's what I want to know.
This reliance on the same body type for so many female characters isn't just boring, it's harmful. It links our value as human beings within the culture to our desirability to men, and it reinforces our culturally influenced ideas about who gets to be considered desirable and who doesn't.
Correction. You just can't get over the fact that there's not that many fat women in video games. That's all there is.
The problem is exacerbated by the fact that when we do see representations of women with different body types, they're often presented as a joke, as in Fat Princess. Or they're pathologized and presented as a twisted transgression of the established feminine ideal, as in the case of the evil lesbian psychopath Joe Slade in Dead Rising.
Let's see just how shameless you are, you dirty little skank! Say hello to my little friend!
No, not again! When the majority of women who populate these game worlds are designed from the same narrow template, the problem isn't just what we're seeing in games, it's what we're not seeing. The fact that fat women and women with different body shapes aren't featured in these worlds reinforces the false notion that these women are less valuable and less worthy of recognition than those women whose bodies come closer to matching the cultural beauty standard.
I don't really think, and this is just my opinion, but I don't think you can really do a whole lot in, say, an action game like Tomb Raider or an RPG like Final Fantasy if the main character is, said to be, is set as a fat person, male or female. So I don't see what your point is here. And it has nothing to do with beauty standard. It just has something. It just has to do with the story they're trying to convey. What part of that aren't you getting? Because I don't see how in a coherent story you can plausibly make Nathan Drake fat or something like that. While of course in Uncharted 2 they did make a joke about it, giving Nathan Drake a fat skin called Donut Drake. It's still a joke and it's not part of the actual story.
These limitations on creativity when it comes to female characters don't stop with body type. We also don't see the same range of ages commonly represented as we do with male characters. It's not unheard of to see male soldiers, fighters, and heroes who appear to be in their 40s, 50s, and even older.
You're right.
Playable female characters, on the other hand, are almost always young, and it's for the same reason that so many of them have the same body type. They're intended to be sexually appealing to straight male players.
She's both right and wrong on this one. She is right on this whole thing with men being portrayed as older and, it's still being okay, and women always seen as younger. And honestly, I wouldn't mind that changing, to be honest. Seeing some older women characters in video games, but you still gotta understand that it's still not going to change the fact that it's the story they're trying to convey, and you can't exactly do a whole lot with an old fat woman or an old fat man. That's all I want to say. This has nothing to do with gender issues.
The result is that we have plenty of representations of male characters who communicate that men can continue to be active, vital, and powerful over the course of their lives. Meanwhile, the absence of older playable female characters wrongly suggests that women's value is tied directly to their beauty and youth, and that when they're older, that value is all used up.
God damn it, Anita. Really, you can't stop focusing on a character's age or sex or anything like that. All you see is just them as what they are on the outer shell, and just don't care about who they are as a person in this world. Now, it does not teach women that they have to be young and pretty forever. It doesn't. I don't even understand where you're pulling that out of. It just so happens that female characters that are younger and beautiful and are more attractive, and that's it. It's not teaching men or women this weird ass shit that you like to make it out to be.
There aren't many good examples of prominent positive representations of women with different body types in major contemporary games. In Life is Strange, there's the minor character Alyssa, a classmate of Max, the protagonist.
I didn't know you were a sci-fi geek like us. What's your favorite?
In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, there's Agnes McBean, owner of the train which becomes the hero's base of operations.
Then may I present to you Agnes and Bertha, Lady and Locomotive.
And in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Kreia is a great example of a capable, powerful, older female character.
I am Kreia, and I am your rescuer, as you are mine.
Let's go back.
Call me judgmental all you want on this, but this is just my opinion. But of those examples that you've given me, I've come to the conclusion on all those characters that they aren't that healthy. All three of them. They do not look or sound healthy to me than just those characters that you chose. Now, it just might have something to do with it might have something to do with just how they talk or something like that, but they don't exactly sound healthy, if you ask me. Then again, I am no health physician or whatever you want to call it. I don't major in any health courses or anything like that. First off, they've never been my specialty, but my point is they just don't sound healthy to me.
To Overwatch for a moment. Since that initial reveal, a few female heroes have been added to the roster. There's Mei and Zarya, both of whom have body types that are notably different from those of the originally announced female characters.
Anna, reporting for duty.
And more recently, Blizzard announced the game's next hero, Anna, who's both an older woman and a woman of color. These characters are welcome and encouraging additions, but really they're just a start. Game developers need to continue actively working towards creating the same range and diversity of female body representations that we see among male characters. When female characters' bodies are liberated from the need to uphold narrow, limiting cultural beauty standards, the resulting range of representations can not only make games themselves more interesting, it can encourage us to see all women as the desirable, valuable, autonomous, fully human individuals that we are.
Really? You don't need diversity in games Because if Ghostbusters prove anything, or even in movies, if Ghostbusters proves anything, you don't need them. In fact, I'd argue that they hinder the story. And what I want to emphasize here is do not have diversity for the sake of diversity. And that's what I think not a lot of people understand. Why do people always have to appeal to the minorities? That's something I'll never understand. Because if you focus on the minorities, you're going to be forgetting the majorities. And here's the thing that, on a business standpoint, because I've always loved how business works. And what I want to emphasize here is you want to appeal to your target market. And if you always try to appeal to your minorities, you won't appeal to the majority or your target market. And as a result, your sales are going to plummet. Why do we always have to focus on the minorities? Because the way I see it, you focus on the majority, and anyone else who wants to join in will come on in. Like, you don't need all these diverse characters just for the sake of diversity. What you need is just to have these characters just be themselves, and you don't have to have a black person just for the sake of having a black person, or a woman just for the sake of having a woman. Because if you do that, you're going to end up with useless characters. And when you have useless characters, they're just there for the sake of being there. Take Jar Jar from Star Wars. Well, I wouldn't say Jar Jar, but anyway. Jar Jar, at least in the first movie, and actually the second and the third movie, Star Wars films, Jar Jar never felt like he belonged there. At least in the first movie, he did kind of fit in with the story, but it just wasn't that good. And that's what people need to understand. Do not have diversity for the sake of diversity. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching this. See you guys next time.